My golden sister stole my money and went to the sea with her boyfriend, and my parents stood up for them, but karma took its toll. They say blood is thicker than water, but I've come to realize that sometimes it's also more corrosive. My sister, the so-called golden girl of the family, has always had a special glow around her, at least, in our parents' eyes. She was the one with the perfect grades, the charming smile, the soft voice that melted away every little mistake. Me? I was the quiet one. The reliable one. The one who didn't make waves. We weren't rich. Everything I earned from part-time gigs and online work went straight into a savings account. I had a goal: get out of this small town, pay for my university without loans, and carve a life where I didn't have to feel like a guest in my own home. That all changed about 2 months ago. At first, it was small. A few bills missing from the envelope I kept in the drawer under my bed. I thought maybe I miscounted. Then my debit card showed a couple of strange withdrawals, 200-300 here and there. Maybe I was careless. Maybe I forgot a transaction. I wanted to believe that. Then, one Monday morning, I woke up to find nearly all of my savings gone. Over 25,000 UAH vanished. My tuition money. My escape plan. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, the early light spilling through the blinds, phone in hand, staring at the balance. My stomach churned. I felt numb. I scrolled through the transactions. They were spread out, just under limits that would have triggered fraud alerts. Withdrawn in small sums. A few online transfers to a card I didn't recognize. But I had a gut feeling. And the only person who had been around enough, who had access to my room, who knew my password once by accident when she borrowed my laptop, was my sister. Lena. I confronted her that evening. She was in the kitchen, eating yogurt like nothing happened. Hey, I started, keeping my voice steady. Did you take money from my account? She blinked, mid-bite. What? No. Why would you even say that? I'm missing a lot of money. Someone's been transferring cash out in small bits. It adds up. You've had access to my stuff. You knew my laptop password once, remember? Her expression changed subtly. She scoffed, shaking her head. Oh, come on. Are you really accusing me? Your own sister? Maybe you spent it and forgot. Or maybe your account got hacked. I didn't spend it. And it wasn't hacked. The withdrawals were local. She looked away, tossed her spoon into the sink. I didn't take your money, okay? But her tone was off. Her eyes didn't meet mine. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I walked away. I needed more than gut feelings. That night, I dug deeper. I managed to find one transfer with her name tied to it. She must have slipped up. I printed it out. Then I checked her social media, her messages, her boyfriend's tagged photos. That's when I found the seaside posts. Sunset selfies. Beach cocktails. Matching bracelets with captions like "Finally Summer's time." All posted during the exact dates of the withdrawals. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. She had taken my money and gone on a beach vacation with her boyfriend, while I stayed behind working night shifts and counting coins for tuition. The next morning, I showed the evidence to my parents. I thought they'd be shocked. I thought they'd demand answers. Instead, they looked annoyed. At me. My dad crossed his arms. Are you sure you're not overreacting? Maybe she borrowed it. You two are siblings. Talk it out. Borrowed? I nearly choked. She took everything. She hasn't even admitted it. My mom added, your sister's been under a lot of stress lately. Maybe she needed a break. She's always been responsible. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They weren't just refusing to hold her accountable, they were justifying it. I stood there, shaking. My voice cracked as I said, so you're just going to let this go? Let her rob me and pretend it's okay? My dad sighed. You're making too big of a deal out of this. Money can be replaced. Family can't. I left the room before I said something I'd regret. That was the moment I realized something fundamental had shifted. It wasn't just about the money. It was the betrayal. The silence. The fact that I was suddenly the villain for speaking up. But I didn't get angry. Not yet. Because I knew something they didn't. Karma has a long memory. And it was just getting started. I stopped talking to Lena after that morning. Not out of spite, at least not initially. I needed space. I needed to breathe. And I needed to figure out what came next. But she acted like nothing happened. She walked around the house with her usual cheerful air, joking with Mom, sending flirty texts to her boyfriend at the dinner table. Like she hadn't gutted my savings and taken a vacation on my dime. I tried to avoid her, but we lived under the same roof. And my parents? They kept dropping not-so-subtle hints that I was being too dramatic. Mom once left a pamphlet on managing stress in young adults on my desk. Dad gave me a whole speech about forgiveness one Sunday morning, ending it with a forced laugh. You know, sometimes people do dumb things. That doesn't mean we should burn bridges. I didn't say a word. I just nodded and stared at the carpet until he walked out. But inside me, something was twisting. Breaking. I still had screenshots. Proof. I thought of taking it to the police, but what would that do? She hadn't technically hacked anything. I hadn't filed any official complaint. And in this town, the police had better things to do than investigate a family squabble over a few thousand hryvnias. I even emailed the bank, asking about the withdrawals. They confirmed the card used belonged to Lena. That should have been the final nail. But when I showed it to my dad, he shook his head and said, "That doesn't mean she did it with bad intentions." I was done. I took a deep breath, opened a new tab, and started job hunting again. I needed out. My tuition fund was gone, and I couldn't afford another semester just yet. But I could work. Save again. This time, I wouldn't keep the money in the same house as my golden sister. That's when things started changing. It began with whispers. A former classmate of Lena's messaged me on social media. Just a "hey, weird question, is your sister okay?" message. I replied, "Why?" She posted something weird on her story. Then deleted it. I checked her profile. Nothing. But it nagged at me. So I asked a few others who followed her. A couple of them had screenshots. One was a blurry image of her crying in what looked like a bathroom stall. The caption read, "You try to do something nice for yourself, and the whole world wants you to suffer for it." Another one, much more concerning, was a note-style story. "I'm tired of pretending everything's fine. Maybe I should disappear for a while." I stared at them for a long time. Part of me felt a flicker of sympathy. Another part didn't. Because I knew why she was spiraling. Her boyfriend Roman had apparently dumped her 2 days ago. Turns out, he wasn't the ride-or-die beach prince she thought he was. He used her for the vacation, took cute pictures, and then ghosted her once they got back. Word spread through their circle quickly. Roman had moved on, some older girl from Kiev he met online. Lena's perfect world was cracking, and she was trying to glue it back together with staged photos and passive-aggressive stories. I didn't say a word. But Karma? She was just getting warmed up. A week later, Lena came home with a black eye. She claimed she slipped on the stairs outside her friend's apartment. But the bruises on her arm told a different story. Mom went pale. Dad got quiet. And I just stood there, watching her lie her way through another mess. The next morning, I found her crying in the kitchen. No makeup, hoodie up, spooning dry cereal into her mouth. She looked empty. She didn't notice me at first. But when she did, she tried to pull herself together. "Don't say anything," she mumbled. I didn't. I walked to the fridge, poured myself a glass of juice, and sat across from her. Then I said quietly, "He hit you, didn't he?" She didn't answer. "You used my money to go on that trip with him," I added. "And now look where it got you." Her shoulders shook, but she still didn't cry. Not really. I didn't feel triumphant. Not at all. I felt tired. "I didn't mean for it to go this way," she finally whispered. "I just wanted to get away. Everything felt so suffocating. I thought I'd pay you back." I really did. "Then why didn't you say anything when I confronted you?" "Because I was ashamed." She looked up at me. "And because I knew they'd take my side no matter what." "They always do." That part hit me harder than I expected. She wasn't wrong. And hearing her say it made me realize how warped things had become in our family. She didn't apologize, not really. But she didn't need to. The damage was done, and so was the illusion. Later that day, I booked a small apartment 2 towns over. A cheap place with thin walls and a broken radiator. But it was mine. I left a note on my bedroom door. Not for Lena, for my parents. You raised a golden girl, and you let her burn everyone else to keep her shiny. I hope it was worth it. Then I left. But karma wasn't done with any of us yet. Moving out was supposed to feel like freedom. Like shedding an old skin and stepping into a new life. And in a way, it was. But the truth is, starting over is rarely clean. It's more like dragging your wounded pride into a room that smells like mold and reheated leftovers, and pretending you're fine. The apartment was small. The kind of place you didn't bring guests to. The wallpaper peeled in the corners, and the heating clanged like ghosts in the pipes. But it was mine. No Lena. No parents. Just the quiet buzz of an aging fridge and the drip of a leaky tap. I picked up more hours at the cafe I worked at, sometimes back-to-back shifts that left my feet numb and my brain foggy. But I saved. Every coin went into a new account. One no one knew about. I didn't speak to my family for nearly 2 months. Not even on my birthday. No calls. No messages. Silence. Then one night, around 10, there was a knock at my door. I nearly didn't answer. But something in me hesitated. I opened it to find my mom standing there, her coat soaked from the rain, mascara smudged under her eyes. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. I stepped aside without a word. She sat on the tiny couch and clutched her purse like it might vanish. I waited. "I didn't come here to fight," she said. "I came to tell you, things at home aren't the same." I raised an eyebrow. She hesitated. "Your sister, she's not well." I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me wanted to ask, since when has she ever been truly well? But I bit my tongue. "She's dropped out of school," Mom continued. "She barely eats. She doesn't go out. She spends most of her time in her room, crying or sleeping. And your father," she paused, lowering her voice, "he's angry all the time. At everything. I think he blames himself, but he'd never admit it." I crossed my arms, leaning against the wall. "And what about you? Who do you blame?" She looked up at me with red eyes. "Myself." For a moment, the silence between us was heavier than anything either of us could say. "I should have listened to you," she whispered. "I should have taken it seriously when you told us. But we didn't want to believe she could do something like that. She's our daughter. She's your sister." "She still is," I replied. "But that doesn't erase what she did." "I know. And I don't expect you to forgive her. I needed to see you. To tell you that we were wrong." That sentence hung in the air like an apology that didn't quite know how to land. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. "It's not everything. Just a start. A piece of what she took." I didn't touch it. "Lena doesn't know I'm here," she added. "But I think, maybe one day, she'll want to face you too. When she's ready." I stared at the envelope. The weight of it. The strange comfort of restitution, tainted by guilt and shame. "I don't need it," I said. Her eyes widened. "But I needed the truth more." She nodded slowly, stood up, and left the envelope on the table. Then she gave me a sad smile and walked out into the night. After she left, I sat on the couch, staring at the envelope for what felt like hours. I didn't open it. Not that night. Weeks passed. And though I didn't return home, I started hearing things from mutual friends, from neighbors who still spoke to my parents. The golden girl had lost her shine. Lena had started seeing a therapist. Voluntarily. A small miracle in itself. She'd been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and a whole list of things I wasn't qualified to understand. Apparently, the trip with Roman wasn't just a getaway, it was a last-ditch attempt to outrun the mess inside her. And when it failed, it all came crashing down. It didn't excuse what she did. But for the first time, I saw a human being under the layers of favoritism and charm. Someone broken. Flawed. Like me. One day, I opened the envelope. There was 4,000 UAH inside. A note, in my sister's handwriting. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted to show that I'm trying. I'll keep paying you back, even if it takes years." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But I did neither. I folded the note, put the money in a drawer, and kept going. Because karma didn't just show up to punish. Sometimes, she stayed behind to teach us what was worth rebuilding. By the time spring came, my life had found a strange, silent rhythm. I wasn't happy, but I wasn't angry anymore either. Just tired in a way that felt permanent, like an ache in the bones that no sleep could fix. I saw my sister once, by accident. It was in a second-hand bookstore downtown. I was browsing the shelves when I noticed someone standing a few rows over, tucked in the poetry section like a shadow. I didn't even recognize her at first. Lena had lost weight, her hair tied back in a way that exposed how gaunt her face had become. There was no makeup, no polished smile. Just her. Raw and real. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did and pretended not to. I left without saying anything. That night, I lay awake wondering if I should have approached her. Said something. Anything. But what would I have said? Hi, remember when you stole from me and my parents blamed me for it? No. Some wounds weren't ready to be touched. But I kept hearing things. Apparently, Lena had started volunteering at the community center a few days a week. Nothing glamorous, just cleaning, sorting supplies, helping with paperwork. But it was something. And people started noticing. One of the older women who worked at the cafe with me told me, "I saw your sister the other day. She was helping the kids paint murals. Quiet girl. Polite. Not at all how I remember her." I didn't know what to make of it. Maybe people do change. Maybe hitting rock bottom was the best thing that ever happened to her. Still, part of me stayed guarded. Because change, real change, isn't proven by good deeds alone. It's proven over time, through consistency, through sacrifice. One afternoon, I came home to a letter in my mailbox. Handwritten. No return address. Hey. I won't call or come by unless you say it's okay. But I wanted to tell you that I'm not the same. I don't want to be. I know I wrecked everything. I know I ruined the trust we had. But I'm rebuilding. Slowly. I want to make things right, not just by giving you the money back, but by becoming someone who would never take it in the first place. I miss you. Lena. I read it twice. Then a third time. Then I folded it and put it in the same drawer as the first note. I didn't write back. But for the first time, I thought, maybe one day. Life didn't stop for my family's dysfunction. Work piled up, deadlines came and went, and I started tutoring local students for extra cash. Slowly, my savings grew again. It was a slow rebuild. But it was mine. And just when I thought things were settling, something unexpected happened. One of my clients was the son of a local lawyer. Smart kid, a bit too curious for his own good. After a session, his dad came to pick him up and asked if I had ever considered working as an assistant. I thought it was a joke. But he was serious. He needed someone organized, discreet, and good with writing. I didn't have a law degree, but I had discipline. And experience. It paid more than the cafe. A lot more. I said yes. That's how I found myself walking into a downtown office 2 weeks later, dressed in second-hand business clothes and trying not to look terrified. My life began shifting again. Not dramatically, but noticeably. I moved into a better apartment. I enrolled in night courses. And still, I said nothing to my family. Until one morning, I got a text from Mom. "It's your father's birthday dinner on Sunday. Come if you want. He misses you." No apologies. No explanations. But something in me softened. Maybe I was ready. Not to forget. Not even to forgive fully. But to exist again, in their world. I went. The house was smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I had just grown. Dad hugged me without saying a word. He looked older, grayer. There was something in his eyes, regret, maybe. But he didn't force it into words. For that, I was oddly grateful. Lena was there, too. She didn't speak first. She didn't smile. But as we sat around the table, passing plates, and trying not to trip over old wounds, our eyes met. Just for a second. And she mouthed, "Thank you." I didn't know what for. But I nodded. Maybe, just maybe, karma wasn't about revenge after all. Maybe it was about revelation. And learning to live with the pieces left behind. I don't know exactly when I stopped waiting for an apology. Maybe it was the moment Lena looked me in the eye at Dad's birthday dinner and didn't flinch. Maybe it was after the second envelope came, this time with another small repayment and a simple, handwritten line, one step at a time. I never replied. But I didn't throw it away either. We weren't healed. But we were quieter now. Calmer. A sort of stillness had settled between us, like the space after a long storm, when the wind stops screaming and all you can hear is your own breath. I stayed for dessert that night. My mother brought out the same cake she'd baked every year, a simple vanilla sponge with homemade icing. Dad made the same joke about how it looked better last year. And for a brief, strange moment, it almost felt like before. Except we all knew it wasn't. After dinner, Lena helped clear the dishes. I offered to help too, and we stood side by side at the sink, her drying, me rinsing. She didn't speak. Neither did I. Until I said, quietly, "You're doing better." She paused. "I'm trying." That's something. A silence fell again. But this time it felt comfortable. "I've been going to group therapy," she said suddenly. "There's this woman there, Alina. She lost her brother because of a gambling relapse. She still shows up, every week. She says the guilt never really leaves, it just gets quieter." I nodded. "You feel that way too?" "Sometimes." A beat passed. "I still don't know why I took the money. It wasn't just the trip. It was like I wanted to prove I could take control. That I could make something mine. But instead, I just proved how out of control I really was. That, more than anything, finally made sense to me. She hadn't stolen because she hated me. She stole because she was drowning. And I was the easiest surface to step on." We finished the dishes. She wiped her hands on a towel, then said, "I'm going back to school in the fall. Starting over. I'm paying for it myself." "Good," I said. She smiled. A real one this time. Life didn't suddenly turn cinematic. There were no dramatic reunions, no emotional embraces in the rain. Just small steps. Lena sent money each month, just a little. But she never missed one. I visited home more often, though I never stayed too long. My parents stopped treating her like she was fragile porcelain. They started listening more. Accepting the cracks in her. In all of us. And me? I got promoted. My boss said I had a knack for structure and seeing the mess under the surface. Funny how life trains you in the dark. One day, nearly a year after I moved out, I came home to my apartment and found a package on my doorstep. No note. No return address. Inside was a leather-bound journal. On the first page, scribbled in Lena's handwriting. "If we can break, we can rebuild. You were always the stronger one. I'm just catching up." I sat down and read it cover to cover. It was a journal of her therapy progress. Letters she'd written but never sent. Memories she wanted to confess. Pages about our childhood, about feeling like she was on a pedestal she never asked for. About resenting it and secretly envying me for being allowed to fail in peace. It broke me in ways I didn't expect. And it healed something else too. I called her that night. Not to say everything was forgiven. But to say I was willing to try. We talked for over an hour. By the end of it, we weren't siblings on opposite sides of a war. We were just two people who had survived each other and ourselves. People always think karma is instant. That it strikes like lightning. But I've learned it's quieter. Slower. It waits. It watches. And then, just when you think you've outrun it, it sits down beside you. Not to punish. But to remind you. Of who you are. Of who you could be. And of the fact that sometimes, the worst things we do, are the beginning of who we're meant to become. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day.